Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the election transmission on Pakistan Television World. I'm your host Khalid, but for the next 2 hours I'll be with you deciphering the elections this year, the different aspects of the elections, the preparations, and the different questions that a lot of you have had regarding tomorrow, that is the polling day. What are the do's, what are the don'ts, what needs to be done, questions like are mobile phones allowed or not, you know, basic questions that a lot of people have been asking me over the last few days, and this is what we are going to answer during this 2-hour transmission, as well as understanding the whole concept of elections and what they represent. We've been joined by two important guests with us in the studios for this hour. Let me introduce them to you one by one. On my very right is Nighat Siddique. She's a spokesperson of the Election Commission of Pakistan. Thank you very much, ma'am, to have joined us, and thank you for these badges that we have thanks to you. Our second guest is our correspondent from PTV World, Musharraf Zahoor. Musharraf, thank you very much to have joined us as well. I'll begin with Musharraf this time. Musharraf, you have been seeing Islamabad and Pindi today as well. You were also there yesterday, and you've seen this whole aura of enthusiasm as far as the people wanting to vote is concerned. How do you see the environment? How do you see people's position as far as their determination for voting is concerned? And what is the general impression that you have regarding these elections?
Well, all is set to go for tomorrow's general elections 2024, which we have been waiting so long, and the election material has already been transported to all polling stations in federal capital Islamabad, and as well as Rawalpindi and other parts of the country. As far as federal capital Islamabad is concerned, security arrangements have already been taken, and it is very important that 6,500 police personnel, they have already been deployed on all polling stations in Islamabad, federal capital territory, while 1,500 FC and army personnel will also be assisting to peacefully conduct this election process. And as far as enthusiasm is concerned, all political parties, they had ended their campaign day before, and tomorrow they will of course be public will be going for the elections, and enthusiasm, as you know, in 2024 elections we have about 20 million young voters, and a lot of participation by the women as well who are registered voters. So we are hoping that the enthusiasm will continue, and they will be enthusiastically participating in this process, which is really very important, and their participation, especially of the young people is concerned, is very important to ensure not only for voting but to legitimize this whole process. So we can see a day before people were holding rallies. Large number of people were participating in them, those rallies which were addressed by their political leaders. So from that perspective, and as well as on social media, we have seen that all the political parties, the leadership of all the political parties have been urging specifically to women and youngsters to take part in these elections. And of course, we are hoping that tomorrow, when this process will begin at 8 a.m. and that will continue up till 5 p.m., a large number of people, we would be having a good turnout due to the 20 million young voters, and that will of course instill energy in other voters as well. And
exactly.
They will
There's
be
so many,
I
mean, as you said, 20 million voters who haven't voted as yet. This is the first time that they will be voting. So of course the enthusiasm is there, the excitement is there. I'd like to understand something from you, Musharraf, before I go to our spokesperson, because I have lots of questions for her as well. We are hearing that whether it be Islamabad or other cities, there are some sensitive polling stations and there are others who are not sensitive. What is the difference between the two, and how should the public, when they go tomorrow to vote, differentiate between the two, and how do they need to cooperate with the different security agencies at the sensitive polling stations?
Well, it is very important that a deployment of security agencies on sensitive and most sensitive polling stations has already been completed, and for that matter, as far as public is concerned, they will be they should ensure that they will be taking part in a very cohesive and a very disciplined manner. Once they will be going to the polling stations, and selection, as our other guests will be telling us about the code of conduct, which has been specifically crafted for for the polling stations. But as far as public are concerned, they need to cooperate with the security agencies, because it's very important for them, for their safety. Every polling station which has been announced as sensitive, that means that there will be an extra security measures that would be taken around those polling stations. And for that matter, public will should follow the cue which would be given by the authorities present on those particular polling stations.
All right. Thank you very much for that information. Coming to our ECP spokesperson, Nighat Siddique, it was so interesting, our conversation yesterday, when you told us about the 1.49 million staff that has been trained in 27,000 sessions, or I don't know how many.
27,000.
So I'm right. In the 27,000 sessions, and how it was very important for them to be properly trained, whether it be in the whole process of the elections that are going to be held tomorrow, or whether it be for the EMS, the system that has been put into place. My question to you begins with the code of conduct. What kind of enforcement, ma'am, is in place to ensure that everybody follows the code of conduct? There are different codes of conduct, and of course there is one for the national media, one for the international media, then for the national and international observers, then for the police personnel, then for the polling agents, then for the political parties as well, and for the army there's another code of conduct. What will ensure, who will ensure that this code of conduct is properly implemented in letter and spirit tomorrow?
When we started with this code of conduct, the important thing was to have stakeholders on board, as I mentioned yesterday also, that it was the first time that the stakeholders were taken on board. A consultative process was, due consultation were done through a consultative process. For the political parties, a number of times they were called in, they were invited for this consultation. Through a proper, their recommendations were factored in, and then the code of conduct was completed. Now, that means that all the stakeholders for whom these codes of conduct are fully on board. And to tell you honestly, most of them are observing them. And for Election Commission at our end, we have this Election Monitoring and Control Center, which is EMCC. It's a state-of-the-art monitoring system that we have deployed there, which is manned by around by RMCs, which is Regional Monitoring Coordinators. That's a 19th grade regional election commissioner. At the district level, we have district monitoring officers, and then down under at the tehsil level, we have monitoring officers. They are actually very strictly, vigilantly monitoring the codes of conduct followed by the stakeholders, including political parties, media, observers, and wherever they see a breach or an irregularity, they do have this power to immediately take an action. They report it back to the center, and the commission takes a very strict notice of that, and notices are issued, they are fined. The hoardings and the banners which are oversized, they're taken off. There's so much that's been happening to control this environment, to have conducive environment for everybody. So I think codes of conduct are monitored regularly.
All right, what happens tomorrow? For example, we have different kinds of media, and there are people who have tendencies to go overboard, to to give the results beforehand, then to give speculations as to who is winning or who's not, how many people are there, who's inside, who's doing what, who's polling for whom. Sometimes information could be correct, sometimes information could be false. Most of the times it is false. How do you control that? Are there certain regulations that are in place so that such happenings do not occur?
See, it's very important. I think it's a very important question that you asked, because handling misinformation is more difficult than handling information or giving out information. There have been rumors and there has been misinformation and disinformation about all this. That if, and in the morning I was in another show where they were asking, if we go out voting, will our vote be counted? You know, and an ordinary citizen would want to know, and they're concerned about it. For their information, I would like to inform through you that at every polling station that is set up, by law, there are polling agents against of each candidate who's contesting. They are sitting within the polling station, within the polling booth, and they are observing the whole process, starting from the time the voter comes in, verifying if the vote is the same person, down to the counting of the vote. Even when the votes are being counted by the presiding officer, the polling agents of each candidate are sitting there and watching over the whole process. They can raise an issue, they can raise an alarm if there's something irregular happening, and Election Commission would immediately, you know, take notice of that. But for the nation to understand the transparency and how it's maintained is that the candidates' polling agents are sitting there. The Form 45 is prepared in front of them by the presiding officer, and polling agents are supposed to sign it. That means they have to be present there. And if someone is not there, then the presiding officer has to write a reason why that particular candidate did not sign it. Then after they all sign and the presiding officer has signed, he pastes it outside at a conspicuous place where all the public can see this Form 45, which is actually the count of the result of that polling station. Immediately in front of all these polling agents, the presiding officer takes a snap, which has already been installed on the mobile phone. Through that mobile app, he sends that form immediately to the RO.
All right.
So the RO gets that form instantly, which enters RO's system, that is election management system, and from there he starts counting all the Form 45s that are coming for his constituency, under his constituency, from the different polling stations. Now once the forms are there, this time Election Commission has arranged a screen outside the RO's office, where every form that's being entered, the public, the media, people of that constituency will be able to see that result in a progressive, the progressive results that are coming in before even if they are compiled. So the progressive results will be seen on the screen, and then finally when the result is compiled, and nobody is going to wait for anyone else. The moment the result is compiled, it's going to be announced.
All right.
So the moment the polls closes down, they start with this counting.
All right.
At the presiding officer's level and then at the RO's level. Nobody is going to stop and wait for someone. The moment the result is compiled at the RO's office, it will be announced.
How will it be announced?
It will be announced, it will be sent, the Form 47 will be sent to the center. It will be announced, people can see that Form 47 at the RO screen also, that is the actual result, and it will be displayed at our center also. We have an election city in ECP, all the media, radio and TV, PTV and all, they'll be there announcing it from there. ECP itself will be showing it to everybody actually. It will be on our website also.
All right. We have also been joined, ladies and gentlemen, online by Mussarat Qadeem, Chairperson of FAFEN. Thank you very much to have joined us. Tomorrow is election day. A lot of enthusiasm is being found amongst the people. Where are you voting, first of all? And how important is the continuity of the whole process through the elections that are going to be held tomorrow?
Thank you very much for having me. Assalamu alaikum. I am going to vote in my village, that is Charsada, and that's why I just told him that I will be traveling tonight and I could not make it in person. Anyway, of course, elections are the most important, I think, part of any democratic process, and I'm really happy and glad that we are now holding the 12th elections, general elections in Pakistan, inshallah, tomorrow, and hopefully everything will go smoothly without any violence. Any incident of violence. This is what we hope, and we believe that because the number of voters is unprecedented. I think 128 million is a huge number. Almost 50% of the population will be voting tomorrow. and we definitely look towards the outcome of a positive outcome of this whole process of election, where billions of rupees have been spent. Although we are still, like, economically the country not that stable, but thanks to Election Commission of Pakistan for managing it, I think in a very effective manner. And let's hope whatever the people have put in a lot of efforts in this whole electoral process, the different, of course, organizations and entities like Election Commission of Pakistan and NAGRA and other civil society groups who had done a lot of homework to make the election process successful and effective. So I hope that it will go smoothly, the process will go smoothly, and we will see the result tomorrow. As I think before me, Ms. Siddique was talking about the election results. And in Pakistan, the issue is that the election day, of course, goes on smoothly. Everybody votes, but when it comes to results, I think there are a lot of reservations, especially those who lose the election. They object to the outcome of or the result of the election. So I hope this time, since we are politically getting more mature, and we have to give space to each other, we have to accept whatever the popular decision will be tomorrow.
I totally agree with you on the political maturity that needs to happen, not only within the political parties but also within the general public who vote for their favorite candidates. Speaking of which, there are, as per our correspondent, 20 million young voters that are going to vote for the very first time in these elections. Then there are the women who are also going to participate very enthusiastically this time in the elections. How important is their contribution towards the elections and the democratic process?
The number of, I think, the youth between 18 and 35 who will be voting tomorrow is around 7.5 million. This is what I have in my the figures that I have. And if they vote, definitely even 70%, even 70% of them, if they vote, that is going to be. I think it's a great achievement for Pakistan, being the country of youth. The youth participating in the electoral process, in the democratic process, shows that how democratically the nation has matured. One. On the other hand, this time, since we all know that since 2018, 2.5 million more women have been registered than men out of the 22.5 million new voters. So that is, I think, a very good omen, a very positive development for all of us who have been requesting and who have been advocating for inclusion, and this inclusion in the form of more women coming into the mainstream politics and contesting the election on general seats, showing the maturity of the nation as a whole. And I always say that in some parts of Pakistan, where women were barred from voting. And I'll just give you an example of Kohistan. I think a week ago I received a call that in Kohistan, one of the religious leaders is asking the community that women should not be allowed to vote, and women should not be actually contesting, should not be allowed to be a candidate. But I think the maturity that prevails today, and this is what we should be actually celebrating, that other political parties and the same political parties whose religious leaders spoke against the women voting, the same political party along with other political parties came together and they sort of mobilized the communities that their women should be coming out for vote and the women candidate can contest the election. So I think this is what it shows, that we are now understanding the inclusivity and the importance of women participation in electoral process in different forms, being as a candidate, as a mobilizer, as a voter. So
I totally agree with you on the inclusivity part and the fact that political maturity needs to come, and tomorrow will be that test of inclusivity as well as a political maturity. Kindly stay online with us. I'll come back to you because I have so many questions, Nighat Siddique, as far as you are concerned. You know, because a lot of people, you know, when I said that I was going here and was doing a transmission and that you will be here, you know, a lot of people said, okay, can you ask this question? Can you ask? Okay, first question that a lot of people have asked me: what are the do's and what are the don'ts tomorrow on polling day?
For public?
For the public.
All right.
For those who go to vote.
Very important for all of us as a voter to remember to bring your original ID card. Without that, you cannot vote. And none of the copies or the passports or any other document would work. It has to be the original ID card, even if it's beyond the valid date, its expired date, you still can work with that. 2, when you come to the polling station, be patient, stand in lines. You are out here to change the fate of the country. So your patience, your standing in lines is very important. That's a sign of a good nation, you know, a civilized nation. Then once you go in for voting, ensure that the polling staff that they apply this ink on your thumb, it dries before you touch the ballot paper, because if you touch the ballot paper with that ink still wet, you're going to leave the impression on the ballot paper. Any mark on the ballot paper of a pen or maybe of some other thing might make it an invalid vote, which might not be counted. So let the ink dry down, then you hold the ballot paper. Ensure that when you have a ballot paper, please see at least twice that the assistant presiding officer, the presiding officer has signed it at the back, and they have placed the stamp also at the back, because if one of them is not there, that means the vote won't be counted. Ensure that when you go behind the screen for your to mark the candidate that of your liking, you put the stamp on that box and not outside the box or not at the edges. It should not touch the lines. Try to keep it within that box on the symbol of the candidate. When you fold it right to left instead of up to down, because if the ink of the stamp is wet again, it might go touch somewhere else to another candidate, and that will create confusion. Again, the vote will not be counted. So this folding is also very important, that it should be right to left, not up to down, from upside to downside. Once that is folded properly and you come out from behind the screen, ensure that you have properly put that vote, that ballot paper, in the ballot box. Green is for National Assembly, so your green ballot paper will go into the green box, ballot box. White is for provincial, so that should go to a ballot box with a white lid. Ensure that that has gone in there, because if it falls right or left, it will not be counted again, it will become a stray vote. I yesterday gave an example of a woman who had left it behind the screen, thinking this was the place where they were to leave the ballot paper. It has to go into the ballot boxes. Only then it will be counted. Once you're done, please don't stick around at the polling station, just leave, because there's so many other people who are standing in lines, in queues, waiting for their turn. Also, for persons with disabilities, transgenders, elderly and expecting mothers, we're offering special preferential voting rights. That is that they would a facility, that is that when they come, they don't have to stand in lines, they'll just walk in, cast their vote and leave. So this is for everybody. We have been training the presiding officers, the polling officers and the security officials on these preferential voting facility being offered to persons with disabilities, transgender, expecting mothers and elderly. I think these are the do's and don'ts.
All right. Yeah. One thing I'd like to understand, we have just talked about the do's and don'ts, but a lot of times people listen to it and then forget it. Is there somebody at the different polling stations to help them, to guide them if there is any issue whatsoever and they need guidance? Yes,
presiding officer presides, he is very much there in charge. Then there's this assistant presiding officer and the polling officer. They've all been trained to help people in guiding them on how to cast a vote. So they'll be telling them how to fold it. Just listen to them and do what they say. They will only be helping in the process of how to fold and where to go and cast the vote. and how to stamp that. Way to stamp is your choice.
All
Don't
right.
listen to anyone if somebody
That, of
tells
course,
you
that is
that.
a personal choice.
That's a don't.
Speaking of another thing, another question that a lot of people have asked
Yes.
me, are mobile phones allowed in the polling stations and on the day of the polling?
Only the presiding officer will have the mobile phone. Nobody else is allowed to take the phone in, not even the candidates, anybody. Nobody will take the phone in.
Okay, so
Yes.
there's only one person who has the mobile phone.
Only
on
one
him.
person.
All
That's it.
right. That's interesting because people have misconceptions and then it leads to disinformation as well if people take the
And
mobile
one more
phones in.
do, and they should do it today, because tomorrow is going to be very, very busy. They should send an SMS on 8300 with their NIC written on it, so that they find out where the polling station is before they leave home, and there's no confusion. They don't have to ask anyone. Just put your NIC in a message and send it to 8300. Find out where your polling station is. That will be convenient for you. It will make your life convenient, that you will straight away go to the polling station that your vote is registered at.
That is very interesting, and thank you for all of these details. Musharraf, coming to you, you have seen and witnessed the different rallies of the political parties. We talked about it in the very beginning, and the enthusiasm that was shown by the different political leaders and their different statements. How do you see this whole process of the rallies? How have you witnessed, because there have been parties like the JUIF, like the JI, like Pakistan People's Party, PMLN, and others who have been in different gatherings talking about their agendas and their manifestos. What as a journalist have you found the most attractive as a manifesto, or points that are very beneficial to the common man?
Well, we can't say that which was much attractive at this point.
But you can say which points were interesting of any,
yes.
without mentioning the name of the political
Yes.
party.
But as you see, all the political parties by 27th of this month, they had last month they had issued their manifestos, especially if we talk about three major political parties, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, Pakistan People's Party, and PMLN. JI and JUIF had already posted their manifestos on their respective websites. However, these three major political parties which we're talking about, they posted on 27th of last month.
All right.
So it is very important that there were few days left for reading out those agendas, but they had already given outline to the public in the different rallies and public gatherings. And most interestingly, if we talk about economy, all the political parties had their own agendas. Specifically, we talk about the challenges. How would they deal with the challenges? So they presented their own way of meeting those challenges, especially when we talk about inflation. So every political party and every political leader talked at length about inflation. How would they be ending it? And the second thing was unemployment and agriculture sector. They talked about that and given their agendas. And then there was social sector reforms and social sector programs. Every political party, all the three major political parties, if we talk, they gave those agendas in their manifestos. But it is very important that those agendas must be released a time ahead, so that those various points could come into public glance and they could be debated fruitfully and to a length that where people could understand those important points, and they can differentiate. For an informed voter, that is very necessary if we talk about. But economy was the most important, I think. Every political party and every political leader have been talking about, and ensuring that they would be generating employment, they would be controlling inflation, and then multilateral donors and talks with IMF, and these have also been on the top of agenda during these rallies. So we are hoping that whichever government, whichever party wins and comes to the power, they will be dealing with this economic factor, which is most important for the country and for the people, of course.
All right. Coming to you, Mussarat Qadeem, I'd like to understand something. Our correspondent Musharraf has just talked about the different parts of the manifestos of political parties. In your point of view, as per your organization, what will be the major challenge for whichever political party comes into power in these elections, and what should be the strength as far as the manifesto of any political party is concerned, looking at the general conditionalities that Pakistan is going through?
I think one of the major challenges that the new government will be facing, and they will, it will be a challenge for them, is the economic situation. They really have to work very hard to make the economy stable. That is one, and then we also have some security challenges. That is another challenge that the incoming government definitely has to handle and has to address. Then besides that, we have some, of course, there is poverty, there is lack of resources, lack of, there are so many other challenges, but I think on priority basis, it should be the economy that has to be tackled immediately. When it comes to, I think, manifestos, we just had, an analysis of the manifestos of few major political parties, and all of them have made quite, I think, very high promises. Manifestos in the first place has to be realistic. They have to have actually should be done in a realistic way, in a pragmatic way, keeping in view the resources. And then it is not only just claiming that this is what they are going to do. They have to say how they are going to do it. We did not find that how in majority of the cases. So I think that is one of the issues when it comes to Pakistani political leadership, that they make a lot of promises during the election campaign, but when they come into power, they usually forget what they had promised to the nation, to their, of course, the voters. And we as voters, it is our responsibility that when next time they come to us, we have to actually ask them that where did they deliver, how much they deliver on their earlier made promises, and only then I think the political leadership will feel accountable and responsible to their voters. So they will be more careful next time that whatever manifesto they make, it is based on the actual issues that the people are facing, and it is not just and they have to be backed by the resources, and they have to be backed by the action plan, how they are going to implement their manifesto. I think this is what really is needed at this time also. So if we are mature enough, if the voter is mature today, tomorrow he or she is going to hold the candidate, or of course his or her representative, accountable when they go to the assembly and they do not perform.
I totally get it, and I think that's a very important statement. Thank you, Mussarat Qadeem. Stay online with us. Coming back to you, Nighat Siddique, there's one thing that also has been the topic of debate, and I've been told to ask you this question in particular, and that is about the election management system, or the EMS. Yes. The Election Commission has been saying that it is much better than the RTS. Yes. If it is, then how is it better than the RTS? What are the specificities of the EMS, and is it foolproof? Because there's also a lot of people that are asking, is the system strong enough or foolproof enough so that no questions will be raised once the polling is done and the system is used?
This time around, it's very, very simple. It's friendly, user friendly. It has 4 tiers of security. We need to understand from where it starts. It starts from a mobile app that has been downloaded in all the presiding officers' mobile phones during their trainings. They've done their mock exercise on how to take a snap and then send it to the RO. So this practice has been done a big number of times with them. So they are very well versed with, and it's a very friendly, user-friendly thing that it asks, okay, click here. If the photo is not correct, it will say move a little, adjust, and then click. So that picture of Form 45, the moment it's prepared, signed by the presiding officer, signed by the polling agents, the picture is taken from the mobile app, mobile phone, and sent to the RO. The RO receives the picture in his system. He manually checks it. If it's correct, if all the calculation is correct, he would send a photocopy to one of the operators sitting there to confirm. It's entered there, it's already there, it's tallied to understand that there is no mistake, and after that, that Form 45 transforms into Form 47 once all the results are tabulated there. So because this is done with connectivity, internet connectivity, so all the telcos, all the PTCL has been told, directed in fact, that the connectivity issues should be resolved and there should be no connectivity issues that day. 1. 2, God forbid, if there is some problem somewhere because of the distance or because of signal issues, the connectivity didn't work. There is this, they have this intra, that is LAN, available there, what do you call that? One is
internet, intranet.
Intranet, yes. There is this intranet facility where they will do it without any internet connection, and there's a whole lot of exercises gone in making them practice that.
All right.
If that something goes wrong with that also, then there's this Excel sheet available on all the RO's desktops. They've been given laptops also. It's available there. They will do it. They'll feed the data there, and come up with Form 47. If that fails, that's a third tier. Do it manually. There's going to be 4 tiers. One fails, go to the next. Second phase, and they've been trained on this. Practice has been done on all these. Mocks have been done a month back. Mock has been done beginning February. Mock has been done just before this. Lots of mocks has been done on online, offline manual, so that everybody is on board, that there is no there's no reason why we should not be able to produce that result of Form 47 within the given time.
All right.
So don't bother about that.
We're in safe hands,
yes,
as far as the EMS
definitely.
is concerned. Okay, last question to you, Mussarat Qadeem. I'd like to understand the importance of voting, and how important is it for each and every citizen who is eligible to vote to go tomorrow to vote in his or her respective constituency and the polling booth that has been assigned to him or her. Do you feel that there is a certain quarter who does not want to go to vote for whichever reasons possible, but despite that, how much of a responsibility is it for all those eligible voters to vote tomorrow?
Of course, it is, as a Pakistani, it is our right and it is our responsibility. It is our, I would say, the responsibility to go to our respective polling stations and vote. Because if you don't vote tomorrow, then we cannot complain that the type of government that comes and decides or make decisions, and then we come out and say that the decisions are wrong, or we start blaming the government. We have to first initiate the step tomorrow to poll, to participate in the polling. I think this is very important. Vote, I think, is the most important element of any democratic process. And voting for every citizen who are registered, they should go and they should vote. Because this is how we can contribute to democratic practice. This is how we actually are participating. We are actually playing our part in the making of democracy, in making the democracy work. This is how we contribute to the making of participation. I think the importance of participation for everyone to vote tomorrow, participate in the electoral process as voter, contribute to the making of I think the new government. Because if we don't vote tomorrow, then we have no right to complain about the decisions that are made by the legislatures. whether it is like, whoever comes into power, they definitely are going to be making the decisions. And if the decisions are not according to our light, or they are not in our favor, then we have no right to object to it. We have no right to criticize it. So I think the request to everyone, we as a nation has to participate wholeheartedly tomorrow in this, on the election day, and vote, cast our votes, so that we are in a position tomorrow to criticize or even to appreciate whoever comes into power and make the decisions for us. The vote is important.
I think that is a very, very important point of view, and I think this is what needs to be imbibed in each and every Pakistani who is eligible to vote. He or she needs to go tomorrow and vote, take part in the process, and take part in the process as per the regulations given by the Election Commission of Pakistan. Thank you very much, Mussarat Qadeem, Chairperson FAFEN, to have joined us for this very important transmission that is of the precursor of the polls that are going to happen tomorrow. Thank you very much, ma'am, to have joined us. Musharraf, we have heard some stories of violence, some stories of incidents that have happened in different parts of Pakistan. Do you feel this might mar the enthusiasm of people, or do you feel that people still are inclined to that? Because our armed forces, of course, as we have seen, have thwarted all such designs very, very quickly and very efficiently. So all those who watch these incidents, or observe these or read about these, does that cast some kind of aspersion in their minds?
Well, as you have already mentioned, that law enforcement agencies are taking care of this phenomenon which Pakistan has. It's not one day phenomenon, rather we have been into it for the past 2 decades, and unfortunately this is happening in a time when we are going to hold general elections, and there we have also seen some surge in these incidents in last few months. So Pakistan Armed Forces are fully prepared for that, and as far as Election Commission of Pakistan and holding of election is concerned, Election Commission as well as Ministry of Interior had held a very detailed meeting on law and order situation last week, and they had concluded that come what may, elections would be held on time, and that was the clear, loud and clear message that was given to those terrorists who want to sabotage this process. And this was also a message for the masses who want to participate in this process. And for that matter, about 130,000 armed forces, Pakistan Army personnel have been deployed all across the country, and 43,000 policemen will be guarding this process. And other law enforcement agencies, of course, they will also be assisting the Election Commission and the election related officials. So I think that would not mar this process. Ultimately, people are very enthusiastic. They want to go for a general election because it's as already one of our analysts has mentioned, that these are the people who have to decide their fate, and they need to come out of their homes to decide their fate, and not to leave it for another day.
True, agreed.
And that process, we are hoping that there will be,
inshallah, the process will be smooth, and inshallah everything will be fine. Nighat, before we end this part of the transmission, and you're going to stay with us for the next part as well, I wanted to understand, you have also trained the security personnel, whether it be the army or the police. How satisfied are you as the spokesperson of the ECP with the whole process of the training? And secondly, as far as the ECP and you are concerned, will that lessen the pressure tomorrow a little bit on all the work that you have been diligently doing?
First, security personnel's training was done in a I would say I'm so satisfied with that in a manner that even they were not expecting that. Mock exercises were done. They were told, they were trained on how to ensure that they stay out of the polling stations till the presiding officer asks them to come in. He is the one who is going to preside tomorrow. Nobody else will enter until he asks. So they're going to stay outside the polling stations, and if required, then only move in. They're also asked to ensure that the people stand in lines and be polite with them. They've been trained on for giving a preferential voting facility to persons with disability and transgenders and elderly and expecting mothers. They've also been trained on how to react to an act of violence. There were mock exercises done. If the presiding officer asks for somebody who's come in with impersonation, or how to deal with that. So they've been trained, and I think it was an excellent training. They were satisfied, their superiors were satisfied, we were satisfied, and it was pretty thorough. So we're very confident, inshallah, that tomorrow it's going to be a very peaceful election. The nation is eager to vote tomorrow, and we are looking forward to a big voter turnout.
Wonderful.
I only would, through your channel, through your show, want to request our nation to remain peaceful. Let the world see how peaceful we are.
Inshallah.
Let the world see how civilized we are, and we must promote this culture of tolerance and patience. If somebody wins, good. If somebody doesn't, still it's all right.
Of course, that's part of democracy
That's
in the
part
whole
of
process, isn't
democracy.
it? Nighat, we have to end this part. So, of course, this was the first hour, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back after a short break with the new guest. But, of course, Ma'am Nighat stays with us because she is our spokesperson for the ECP, and we have so much to ask from her. We'll be back after a break with the second part of this transmission. Stay tuned.